Lent is the 40-day season leading up to Easter. Most traditional Christian churches practice Lent, although it's often thought of as a Catholic holiday. But Lent is really one of the most, if not the most important seasons of the Christian church. It is during Lent that we strip ourselves of things, of comforts that we've taken for granted, comforts that perhaps have begun to hinder us from fully loving God and loving others. Lent is sort of like a time of resetting, of hitting the reset button. It's common for those who are health nuts to go on a cleanse. Maybe they go for a period of time without eating any sugar, or maybe they drink lemon juice and apple cider vinegar every day. Whatever the cleanse may be, the goal is to cleanse one's body from toxins and to reset the system. That's what Lent is. It is a time of cleansing. And in the same way that a body cleanse is difficult, requiring focus, determination, dedication, and sacrifice, a spiritual cleanse is also difficult. It also requires focus, determination, dedication, and sacrifice. Doing a cleanse is not a particularly fun task. So why do we do it? Why do we do this thing called Lent? It begins with today, Ash Wednesday. What's the big deal about today? The big deal is summed up in a short phrase that we say as we receive the ashes upon our brows. It is from dust that we were created, and to dust we will return. In the beginning, God took dust in the form of clay, and he intimately formed it into the human body, breathing life into it. Today, our lives start out with two microscopic cells combining, and it grows, and the cells multiply until a human figure is formed. The end of our lives, when our spirit leaves our body for the final time, the cells begin a process of breaking down bit by bit. Eventually, all the skin and bone and hair and everything else becomes dust once again, indistinguishable from the surrounding dirt. My mother and I have been watching a lot of Netflix lately. I've finally caught on to this whole binge watching thing where you can sit and literally watch an entire season of a show in 1 week or weekend or day. But one of the things I've noticed on the many shows we've watched lately is how lost the characters are. They're just stumbling through life, having no sense of purpose and very little hope. They have moments of happiness, but no true inner peace or hope or joy. And they sleep around and drink too much and scoff at life and at the world. One character pointed out the problem. He said, "Do you know what these people's problem is? They have no higher power." That one sentence is the very crux of their issues. They have no relationship with God. And as such, they have a very relative moral guide, great insecurity, a lack of stability, and no hope or purpose. When I watch these shows through a secular focus, I can laugh with the characters, and their actions of escapism become what seems normal. But when I put on my Christian lenses, it makes me want to cry. Because I know that these characters are not just characters in a book or on a show. They are the majority of people living around us. They are people that we as Christians and as the church have failed. Without God, without this understanding of this great creator who desires a deep and passionate relationship with us, without this great understanding of this unbelievable grace, we are nothing more than dust, than ash. Without a relationship with God, we are just a conglomeration of cells thrown together to walk through life until we die. What is the purpose of life? That is the deepest and most philosophical of all questions, but the answer is very simple. Our purpose, the entire reason we were made, is to love God and to love others. That is at the core of both the Old Testament teachings and the teachings of Jesus. The Bible tells us that our faith is like an anchor for our soul. Without faith, we are just tumbleweeds rolling around on the earth. What Lent does is to help us refocus. It helps us to reprioritize. It helps us to relearn just what love truly is, not what the world says it is. And it helps us to put aside the secular lenses and to allow God to write us a prescription for new lenses of faith so that we can see the world through God's eyes more clearly. One of the things I tend to do is to watch a lot of videos on my phone, especially right before bed. It's not that it's a sin necessarily, but it hinders my relationship with God because the last thought on my mind before I close my eyes at night and the first thought when I awaken should be my purpose. Loving God and loving others. Prayers and praises should be on my mind, not crazy YouTube videos. So much within our lives has allowed us to grow comfortable. We fail to see how big the blessings are that are around us: food, shelter, clean water, heat. Making sacrifices throughout Lent allows us to grow uncomfortable. It allows us to reprioritize. It allows us to gain a greater understanding of need versus want. It allows us to more appreciate what we have. And it allows us to develop compassion for those without. Being uncomfortable is a very essential element to the Christian faith. Without sacrifice, we become complacent, apathetic, and set in our ways. We often take more than what belongs to us, and we forget to be thankful. We don't realize how blurry our vision has become, and we lose sight of the goal to love God and love others. And our lives begin to be about serving ourselves and our comforts rather than picking up our crosses to follow the one who teaches us radical, life-changing, world-changing love. We're comfortable. Toxins have built up in our souls, and it's time to do a cleanse. It's time to hit reset. It's time to remember that only through God do we have a purpose. Without God, we are nothing more than lumps of cells wandering around one day to become nothing more than dust in the wind. I hope you will join me throughout this Lent as we take a deeper look at our faith and our comfortability. I hope you will join me as we learn to ask some of the important questions, to examine our lives and discover some of the things that are keeping us from fully living out our purpose. and knocking down some of the roadblocks to fully fulfilling that purpose. And I hope you will open your heart to truly examine yourself and to ask the question, what are you willing to risk for your faith?